But I was completely different from him. I knew that from the start. Since you asked me about clarity, that's one thing I didn't have any clarity on, right? Who I want to become, right? Because I think I was completely a confused child. See, it's a poor understanding of self, no?
Yeah.
I mean, if you understood, I can just tell you all the weaknesses that I have, all the strengths that I have, and I think I'm a better person because of that. I would say actually my job is managing people, right?
Today we have Eldho Kuruvilla with us at the table. Eldho is the founder and chief mentor at Vedatma. People come to him in those moments where they're figuring out what to do next. Parents, children, and professionals ask him the same question in different ways. Which path should I take? This conversation is about those decisions under pressure and what it takes to be the person on the other end that people turn to when clarity is required. Let's dive right in. Hi Eldho.
Hi Shriyari.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you Eldho for agreeing.
Yeah.
So Eldho, I've seen you across other forums like BNI, and one thing that comes to my mind when I first think about Eldho is clarity. So that is not easy to come by for any founder for that matter. And of course I know of Vedatma, where you're the founder and chief mentor. But I also understand that you're a serial entrepreneur. Your interests go way beyond Vedatma. You are into a lot of other verticals as well. So much before we dive into all that, I just want to understand your formative years. Can you take me through your childhood?
Sure, Shriyari. Where do you want me to start?
Wherever seems fit.
Okay, sure. I guess I'll start with my schooling. Is that going way too back, or that's fine? Okay, I did my schooling as a boarder in a school called Corpus Christi, and now it's called Pallikudam. It's in Kottayam. So I've been a boarder through and through. First standard all the way till 12th. Finished that. Then I did my economics in St. Stephen's College in Delhi. That my undergrad degree. After that, I got campus placed with this. It was quite a big one during those days called Arthur Andersen. Arthur Andersen was like all the audit firms. When you talk about the big multinational audit firms, now you have all the different ones now. But Ernst & Young, just throw a few names now. But Arthur Andersen was probably one of the biggest then. So campus placed, worked there for a couple of years, got that experience. Then I went on to kind of do my MBA. This was in Australia. This was in a university called Griffith University. I don't know how much studying I did. It was in Gold Coast, right, the campus. So, but there was a reason why I went there, because this was an MBA specializing in tourism management. And Griffith was quite famous for the courses that they offered, being the nerve center of tourism, being in Gold Coast and stuff like that. So I mean, somehow that interest was there. I mean, you study a lot of other stuff also, like a regular MBA program, but one of the specializations was tourism management. So I picked that up, completed that, came back to Bangalore. My Arthur Andersen days were in Bangalore. So came back to Bangalore, worked a couple of different stints, including Oracle. I was in the marketing team of Oracle for a while. All very short stints, about 2 years. I came back and worked. Then I think a wedding happened. I mean, one of those things along with getting married was, I was just thinking about the future and things like that. Thought, okay, I'll come back to Kerala. There were some legacy businesses here in the family. But yeah, some of the legacy businesses were something to look forward to expand that. But also wanted to do a few things on my own. So came back to Kerala, settled in Cochin. Otherwise, I had no roots in Cochin per se. My hometown is in a different place called Kodamangalam. But yeah, Cochin was very new. It was quite interesting. Cochin from 2003. And yeah, for the last, what now,
So in between you said
23 years.
I wanted to ask you then and there, but then I thought, I'll wait for you to finish.
Sure.
You said marriage happened.
Yeah.
Did you guys know each other earlier on?
Sure.
Was
Yeah,
this
yeah. This is my wife, Ritika. We knew each other way back in college.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, after college, we were together in Bangalore.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, Bangalore was a couple of years of work. Then I went on to do my MBA.
Okay.
All through, yeah, obviously, we had that friendship going, and ultimately culminated into something more than friendship. And then finally, like I said, we decided to get married in 2003.
And where do you get the sense of clarity from? Because when you're explaining this to me also,
Yeah.
it seems so seamless, one after the other. You just went on to do the next. So, if I may ask you, who were your early mentors in life?
Interesting. So I think we always have our parents as, something that we look up to. Obviously, my dad was a huge force in my life in terms of he's himself is a very accomplished person, very different fields. Various different fields he's accomplished himself. So I think, yeah, obviously you had a father figure who was very successful. So that was quite an inspiration. But I was completely different from him. I knew that from the start. So that was one part, but there was a lot of other inspirational figures that came along the way. Not necessarily that I knew them, but it could be in the world of music, it could be in the world of entertainment. Not necessarily on a personal rapport, but huge influence. So I have to mention here that person, Bob Dylan. So he's up there for me. So I think he had a profound influence in my life. Now that I've obviously watched his shows and stuff like that. I've traveled around the world seeing his live shows. But yeah, I think that's one man who has had a profound influence in me.
I was also wondering what your dinner table conversations were like back in the day.
With whom?
With your family.
Like I said, I was in the boarding. So if you're going all the way back there to my folks' house and things like that.
Prior to marriage.
Yeah, so prior to marriage and all that. So I think I was in the boarding. So it was almost like once in a while I'll come home and go back. So I was never, I would say, part of, very integrated into that home thing, right? I mean, I have 4 elder sisters.
Okay.
So they were also in the boarding. So we had a very fluid thing. I mean, very close.
So was there a structure built so that you all become your own person?
I think so. I think my dad and mom, they come from a very traditional background, both in terms of their own, education, the rural background they came from, and all that thing. But I think one thing I'm very proud to say is that they were they had a very good foresight about how their kids should be and things like that. So I think maybe the things that they missed out, they would want us to have. So yeah, I mean, for my dad, from knowing the kind of background he came from, to put me into one of the best schools in Kerala at that point in time, and giving me this education, which is what made me. Yeah, I think that's incredible. So I think they would want us to be kind of independent people in our own right and our own thoughts and things like that. I'm sure deep inside that's what they would have wanted. Yeah. When I see each of us, I think that's what we have landed up with finally in our own little worlds.
Okay. Eldho, in between when you were explaining about your childhood and your early life, what did you want to become back then? Were you well focused on, this is how I want my career to go, and is that what you actually did? Because you also told me that you had brief stints across various, so I feel that's kind of exploratory to find that, where you fit in best. I don't know if that's
very interesting. So since you asked me about clarity, that's one thing I didn't have any clarity on, right? Who I want to become, right? So I think way forward now, one of the reasons that I got into career counseling could be that, because I think I was completely a confused child. about who I'd want to become in terms of career. I was very, very confused. I was academically a really good child. I mean, good, you know, I used to do well in academics. I mean, that also kind of took me to good colleges, which unless you do academically well, you can't get there. And you know, the trajectory, if you look at it, the places that I got to study, and based on the academics and whatnot, being smart, could get to different places. But that smartness is a completely different thing from the clarity that you would want or would have about what you would want to become, right? I never had that. So I was very confused, and I've done crazy things, like, you know, in terms of my +2 course was, you know, in terms of more into engineering kind of a thing. Then suddenly after that I jumped into economics. After 3 years of undergrad economics, I jumped into accountancy. So after 2 years of accountancy in Arthur Andersen, I jumped into MBA in tourism management. So if you look at where it's all headed, there's no pattern. However, I would say that deep inside, I knew why this was happening, because I wasn't kind of trying to I was trying to find out who I was really. And I think that calling to kind of figure out the real you was very, very deeply felt. And I think that's what delayed this career discovery, or trying to latch on to something early enough. And because I was trying to figure out all throughout, I think the deal wasn't, oh, which career? The deal was, who are you, man? Right? You know, that was a question that I was trying to kind of figure out. And I think it took me a long time to figure out who I was. And on the journey during my MBA, few things helped me, because I learned about personality types. And then, wow, it was that moment of, okay, now I figure to actually look at this scientifically and trying to figure out, oh, this explains me a lot more. It's not vague. It can actually be scientifically explained. And then I had a lot of insights, I would say. And then started the real journey of coming back, taking on few legacy things because we needed to make that work. Then starting few things on my own. Obviously career counseling, because I kind of knew that this was so important for...
I was also wanting to ask you there.
Exactly, yeah.
It seemed like you have gravitated towards your calling.
Yeah.
Because I was also wondering, you have so many businesses, and if, you know, Vedatma is a little more personal to you. And from what you've shared, I think it appears to me that it is.
It's completely personal.
Yeah.
It's a very personal calling. I think the very fact that I was confused, and I have a complete recognition of that, and I understand also, because I understand personalities now. It's very intuitive. I'm a people person. I get people very easily, and that stems from the fact of a certain personality type that I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so I know personality scientifically now. This confusion that happened to me is very inherent in my personality. It's not just me, right? So people who are my personality type, this is there, right? So I think the whole thing was, okay, listen, I mean, I'm not going to get technical here, but there are many different personality types. But my whole thing was, I know at least there'll be the subset of people who are like me and my personality type, who would take a long time, right? Trying to figure out who they are, their calling. So I just wanted to kind of start this whole thing with trying to help them out, right?
To ease their journey.
To ease their journey. And I think in this world of a lot of pressures felt from different sides, be it parental pressure, be it peer pressure now, more than parental, now it's peer pressure, right? And media projections of what success is all about. I think, you know, it can get very, very tricky.
So broadly speaking, how many personality types are there?
So it depends upon what kind of tool that you use,
Okay.
right? I mean, I've been a big fan of a tool called Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. It's the world's most commonly used personality, or most well-known personality tool, right?
Okay.
So that it's got a huge recognition around the world, used almost in 80 odd countries.
Okay.
So it's huge. I mean, it's spread across the world. It's been around for a long time also. To answer your question, there are 16 personality types. So there is, like I said, within that 16 subsets, there are like a certain personality type who is my personality type. But my whole thing was, if I could scientifically kind of explain to a student or a child, or I mean, you could do this at any age. Why I decided to do student career counseling is because I wanted to have maximum impact, right? Because somewhere down the line, if you're an adult and already in a career, well, you can always change that or make small corrections, but can't go all the way back. So I thought the deeper impact would happen if you start at an early age. So yeah, so that's why the student career counseling and why I target students more than adults and stuff like that. So yeah, so I think every personality has its strengths, weakness. So it's nice for people to understand who they are. I think the starting story in our life should be, who am I, right? If we can figure that out, and I think the rest of the journey is going to be a little more, I wouldn't say, well, life is such that you can never say easier, but at least you can kind of, when the life struggles come your way, you can brace up for that. Because you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are, you know what other people are all about. You can have a meaningful interaction with them, understand their point of view better, understand you're not always right. You know, I mean, it's great to actually have that understanding.
Right. So when you were also telling me scientifically now it can be, you know, you're able to help people. Yeah. There's been this lingering question in my mind, and I wanted to ask you, can these assessments be biased, as in the design, can it be biased?
Yeah, sure. See, these are all self-reported assessments, right? I mean, a person would take these questionnaire and they answer with, you know, there are clear instructions when you take these assessments that you shouldn't be biased, you should be who you are, think like who you are, not what you want to be. You know, all those instructions are there so that at least the reporting or the answers that you give won't be biased. Having said that, you never know, right? What kind of mental frame of mind you are in while you're answering that. For instance, imagine like a parent pressurizes a student to do this and they just wrote something, right? So obviously it can be biased.
Okay.
Because inherently not, but the way it's answered.
The mindset with
the mindset you answer, you could get. And sure enough, sometimes some questions could be tricky that you misunderstood the question.
Okay.
So what happens with good assessments, like the one that I use, the Myers-Briggs type indicator, you always need a feedback session with a counselor. What happens during that feedback session, your answer, your personality type is not given out after that online assessment. The counselor again takes you through this entire process of again reporting answers. You come up again with the personality types that is compared to the one that is reported online when you took the assessment. Then if it's the same, well, at least you know, okay, at least whatever the assessment report gave you was correct. But if it's different, then there's a whole process of further, you know, steps that you should take to discover the real you. And it's again scientific. There are certain questionnaire that is again asked to the student and things like that. So during that feedback session with the counselor, who's actually a trained certified counselor who knows how to use this, these biases will be negated.
Okay.
That's the real deal, right? Okay. So assessments per se, yeah, you know, I've had the thing of like, I've done it with thousands of students. 30% of the time when they do the online assessment, we have to we come up with a different personality when we do it with the counselor.
Okay.
So there are chances of that. But yeah, as long as you have a good process in place, then you can kind of better that.
So does this remain true? How does a founder ecosystem take to such assessments? Do you provide such assessments for founders?
I haven't. Yeah, you know, it's quite interesting that I was speaking to a founder recently, and I was actually speaking to him to kind of tell him all the problems in Vedatma, bouncing of ideas, what to do and all. And he was hearing me and he said, have you actually thought about doing this with
why?
founders?
Because
Right.
it's also, I find it also very correlative,
Yeah.
because for certain founders, they've figured out
Yeah.
what they want to do.
Yeah.
You say the ikigai,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
comes in full circle.
Yeah.
For certain others, they might be accidental entrepreneurs. They might be navigating the path, but then down the line, maybe, if you could ease the journey for them, I'm just wondering if, that
Yeah.
exists or...
Right. See, all these personality assessments exist,
Mhm.
whether it's through me or anybody else, and it's so I would actually would put in a huge request out there to any founder wanting to start any business. Please understand yourself first, right? Because why I'm saying that is it's important. I'll explain that.
Mm.
Because in life's journey, when you're finding something or you're starting a journey, you need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Mm.
And as entrepreneurship journey is very challenging, as we all know, right? There are a lot of things, you have to, there's too many things to juggle, right? Now the good thing, if you know yourself is, you don't need to do all that. You would probably then, if you knew yourself well, focus on things that you're good at, or what part of that startup, or the things that you can manage well, and you would be very good at delegating or finding the right people, because you know personality types, of delegating that work, or having a co-founder who's different from you, or anyway, I mean, it can work different ways, and that would actually make the chances of success of a startup all the
Correct.
way better. I mean, it's as simple as that, because there's too many variables, too many different facets of starting a business, whether it's a startup or established business,
So
and you
just-
need to know your strengths.
Just when you were mentioning this, I was just thinking, this would probably be very helpful when there's a founder in pursuit to start something. He or she is looking for a co-founder. If they work well together, if they can get an initial understanding of whether there are synergies, that would be something great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. So, I mean, like you asked me about Vedatma and all that. So, everything has not been great. Vedatma, one of the things, obviously it's great product, and things we have taken to different markets, but one thing I've really missed out on is a co-founder, right? So I'm feeling it now. So the thing is that it's all, you go through these journeys to kind of figure out, okay, what has been that missing link? Because see, with any founder, you can have something called a tunnel vision, right? You get so caught up in your own world of ideas, and you're so emotionally attached, or otherwise, right? You're so attached for the sake of success. It could come from various points. Like for me, it's an emotional attachment to Vedatma. For somebody else, it could be a concept that they think would work very logically in their own minds. Either ways, what I'm trying to convey here is, sometimes the founders have that problem of having a very narrow tunnel vision, not their fault, because they're so attached to it.
Correct.
Right? This is where I think, things like this would really be helpful, because if you had a co-founder, if you had somebody else who could tell you, guard you, be that counterbalance. I mean, it reminds me of that movie, that Matrix.
Matrix.
Right? Yeah, so Matrix, that Morpheus guy.
Correct.
Who offers that red pill or the blue pill, right?
Yeah.
To Neo, right?
Yeah.
And Morpheus is not forcing Neo, right? He's only giving a choice.
Yeah.
And obviously Neo, given the choice, acts wisely and choose the red pill. But that's exactly what you need as a founder. You need a Morpheus in your organization, right? You need somebody to reveal the truth. And that could be a co-founder. It could be somebody in a very high position in a department also. Like it could be a R&D guy, it could be your finance guy. But a co-founder would be a little better because he would be on your same level, and there is no authority being crossed with others. There is always that line of authority and things like that. So this is where every founder should have that check guards in place. I mean, it's even better if the the co-founder is slightly different from you. That's another danger. You find somebody who's just like you, that's also a problem, right? Because then, because we're just human beings, right? We have our own natural biases and the way we think, the way we act. We have certain attachments to certain things, like what we like. So that's another danger. While finding the co-founder, I've seen where you find a co-founder just like you, because it's so good, right? It's so easy. But that's not the deal. The deal is try a co-founder who can be your counterbalance, and I think that would really add different dynamics to a startup.
When did you feel that you need a co-founder?
Yeah.
Was that really essential at that point, or was it at a point of some kind of burnout?
Yeah, so I think what happened is, Vedatma has been a 7-year journey now. So I think, in terms of product development, in terms of, in developing certain systems in place, making the whole robust platform that we have, all that, because I know psychology, I'm trained in this, and even the counseling part, all that, okay, great, I've got a good handle on it. When it comes to marketing, I'm a complete utter failure, right? Because I'm a huge introvert, right? There are certain, comfort zones that I have and things like that. So, when it comes to marketing and pushing the product and all that, that's where I kind of figured I'm not the person, right? Because, my passion lies in developing a product, making it more meaningful and things like that. But on a different level, for anything to really spread out, spread the wings and take off, you need that whole reach out there, which is what I think is missing in Vedatma now. Though we've tried to we have gone to Dubai, established ourselves there and all that, but still I feel this huge void that we are not pushing the product or marketing it well enough. And I know have my limitations, huge limitations. LinkedIn, social media. I'm little I'm little. I wouldn't say those kind of things doesn't appeal to me so much. That excitement of being on that and pushing myself.
Someone who can thrive in that space.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I'm more the backstage, product development, is a counseling, training the counselors. We have a whole network of counselors, all that. That's what I enjoy. So it boils down to what you really enjoy, right? What's a fun in a startup if you don't enjoy, right? So I rather do what I enjoy, and rather somebody who thrives in that and enjoys doing marketing, let that person thrive in that, right? That's the logic.
Who grounds you?
I think myself.
Interesting answer.
No, yeah,
I was thinking you will say your wife, but interesting answer.
Definitely. That goes without saying. That's understood, right? That's understood. I was trying to say, go beyond the obvious. Yeah, obviously the wife ground. There's a solid support that I get from my better half. Her name is Ritika, and I think because we've known each other, the friendship for. It's a solid foundation that we have, and I think I get a lot of being on the ground. We are very different personalities. That's also there. I'm a little more, I think, going out imaginative, trying to, to ask that counterbalance question. Okay, are you thinking too much in the air? That comes from her. Because she's, I think, a little more grounded. Again, I understand personality types, and I think it's just different personalities at play here. But otherwise, what I just mentioned in the beginning, when I said myself, I'm really hard on myself. So I think that's something that again, very inherent in the personality type that I am. Just to ask every question at a very authentic level. Is this what you really want? Are you being corny? Is this superficial? Are you really out there helping or doing what you really went out to do? Are you being true to yourself in what you're doing? This is reality on a day-to-day basis that I face with myself.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's very, very strongly felt that that thing to be the biggest critique of myself deep inside. And I think, like I said, no, I mean, I'm not saying it's anything special about me. I think it's more about the personality type that I am.
Okay. And was there a point where you've been too hard on yourself?
Yeah, I guess sometimes, but I think it's okay. I mean, it's fine. Like, you know, I mean, I think such.
Is there a memory that comes to you?
Not particularly any particular memory, but yeah, I mean, over, you know, life lived such that, you know, you're at this age. There are many times when you've been hard on yourself, and but I take it all positive. I think there's nothing bad about it. Sometimes, yeah, you would. Sometimes when you reflect back, you would have said, okay, could that have been seen in a very positive frame of mind, and, you know, you could have carried on in life. But then, yeah, then there will be too many what ifs, right, in life. Yeah. But it's okay. See, I guess when you're like that, God has given you that willpower to answer that and get on with it, because that's your personality type also, that courage, or, you know, that deep conviction. So I think that kind of helps you stride over those self-doubts. Right. And self-doubts come all the way. Yeah.
So when we are speaking of self-doubts, you're also a person who's observed probably many founders and their ecosystems. And I don't know if you'd agree, but inherently, consciously or unconsciously, founders have this God complex, right? That comes from the need to have answers to everything, and the image of perfectionism. So involuntarily, I feel somewhere all this contributes to burnout at some point of time. So today, if somebody is on their way up in, let's say, the building blocks of their journey, what would you tell them? How should they do it differently? Like you said, the start should be wherein I should understand myself, right?
I was just going to say that.
Okay.
I think that's definitely the start, that God complex and all that you talked about. See, it's a poorer understanding of self, no? Yeah. I mean, if you understood, I mean, I can just tell you all the weaknesses that I have, all the strengths that I have, and I think I'm a better person because of that, right?
Correct.
So I think it's exactly that starting point should be just understand yourself. The good thing, like I guess I'm repeating, but the good thing about understanding yourself is not just for you, right? Because see, it's all about people, right? You know, we are not, even in a technology company, startup, there are people involved. You have to motivate others. You can't do everything, right? We haven't yet got to AI being that single person company yet, right? As long as people involved. So, you know, there are things that you have to interact with them, and knowing who you're talking to, who are your employees or co-founder or stakeholders in the company. And if you have a better understanding of such a person, you wouldn't probably have that God complex, right? Because you would appreciate their point of view. You would say, okay, there you go. I know why he said that, because that's a different point of view from mine. And yeah, in that sphere of what our discussion is, I know I'm not good. He's better. You know, it's as simple, or she's better, right?
Correct.
So I think it's a simple understanding of, it all starts with that self. If you think success is all about metrics and, you know, just some numbers and revenue and things like that, and you know, I mean, I think the God complex would only happen if you're successful. I mean, I guess you're talking at that point in time, right? Somebody grew the company, and somebody wouldn't have God complex when they're just starting off. It would have been a successful company, and let's say the company has performed really well. So that's a problem. You get into the narrow thinking about metrics of financial metrics and stuff like that, and you have a poorer understanding of the bigger concepts in life, as I would put it. That's when all these problems creep up, and ultimately it's not good for you, because the burnout. Why do you burn out? Because finally what happens is, all that could be there, but burnout also happens because there could be some internal frictions. When you're godlike,
Correct.
it can't sustain.
Correct.
Something will have to go wrong in life, right? It will go wrong. Such is life, right? I mean, everything can't be. So when you think, okay, everything has to go my way, it won't happen like that. And the small little things, which is actually small obstacles in life or small failures, would be seen as something bigger than warranted, and thereby the burnout, right? Because you're not then ready for it, because you think, oh, your word was absolute or you were godlike, right? So yeah, I think it all starts with that's my basic premise, understanding self.
And although you've navigated into other verticals also, this tells me about, it's my assumption again, of somebody like you, that you're a systems thinker, somebody with absolute clarity, and yes, you have that emotional call towards Vedatma, but then you also invest a good amount of time in your other verticals.
Yeah.
So when did you feel that, I not only Vedatma, I need to venture into this and the next one and the next one? When did you get into this serial entrepreneurship game?
Yeah, I think I'll have to start the journey a little before Vedatma.
Okay.
When I came back to Cochin, so I had some legacy businesses here in terms of the mining industry. It was very rudimentary at that point in time, but still there was some land and things like that. So the whole journey was, like I said earlier, you kind of had this very international exposure, worked in multinationals, and then you come back and you're trying to get into some kind of industry which is completely unregulated, completely, I would say, it wasn't very professional at that point in time. I'm talking about way back, right? There were a lot of players whose backgrounds could be, it was a very unregulated industry. So there was a lot of learning, and I would say that learning was excellent because it made me really appreciate a lot of hardworking people, right, in that field and all that. See, education is something, right? That's okay. But there are other people where it's not, maybe they're not educated, but the sheer hard work to get to life. I've seen a lot of people like that in my journey during the formative years of things like that. So I think there were a lot of appreciation that came from that. It took me a long time to kind of settle down into this business that I was. Then slowly I expanded it, put a lot more factories and stuff like that, so that we are actually one of the most prominent stone quarry and M-sand suppliers in Cochin. We have supplied a lot of infrastructure projects here, including your metro rail and stuff like that, right? But then, to answer your question, then came my personality kicked in, right? Because all this is actually not my forte. Mining and construction and manufacturing. I'm very people-oriented person. I'm a completely people-oriented person. This is more objects and things, mechanical stuff, logical reasoning. I think that's where I think the whole thing of the real calling of what are you supposed to do, it's a certain frustration that builds up, right? And thereby, slowly trying to venture into, what else can I do to answer my true calling, right? Then happened Vedatma, then happened couple of, I'm also into hospitality. We have some tourism ventures, luxury villas that we rent out. So we kind of put together 2-3 luxury villas and started, because hospitality was something that I learned anyway, like tourism management and all that. I was very, I think I was always kind of attached to that thing of hospitality and all that. So kind of started that. Then one thing after the other about certain real estate projects and things like that. In all this, Sri Hariya, what I want to say is, I manage all these things not because I think I am capable. No, I manage all these because I think I've put in people who are capable to do it, right? I think that is exactly why I'm successful, I think. Because in each of those spheres, some of them far removed from my faculty, I would say, the things that I should be doing in real life, or things that I'm attached to, intrinsically. Why those things are successful is only because I have put in the people to manage it at the highest level, people who are passionate about it, who really knows that metrics or whose personality types kind of match that. So I can read into all that. And the finance backbone supporting it is a guy who's fit for that. So I would say actually my job is managing people, right? It's not about managing businesses.
So all of the dots that we discuss about, somewhere it leads back to Vedatma, and from there to rest of the.
Not so much Vedatma is something about career counseling and all that, but I would say no, it leads back to the person I am. I would say it's not about so much Vedatma, but the person I am. I understood that who I am, and with that knowledge, trying to kind of navigate these different landscapes of business, right? And understanding, hey, this is not my cup of tea, but hey, I have this. This is good.
So any knowledge you have learned, you have sought to apply it somewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think the knowledge that I'm talking about here is not to say that you have to negate all those businesses. You obviously those businesses are important. For instance, mining. I'll just pick up that mining. Operationally, technically, I'm not very attached. Right? There are people, really good people that I put in. I manage them. When it comes to policy decisions, things like that, I represent actually the mining industry in Kerala to the state government and all that. I'm an office bearer. So when it comes to policy formulations and things like that, that is my forte, because I kind of like understand the big picture sometimes, and policy decisions. So those kind of things, yes, I'm very much part of the mining industry, and I get involved in that dialogue, how to better certain processes, government policies and things like that. But that's what I'm talking about. I think you have to be involved, but your involvement, in my opinion, should be to that extent of what you bring to the table. What you don't bring to the table, if you actually try to step on that, it'll be a disaster. And I think I am successful in certain things
because of understanding your strengths and limitations.
A limitation and putting the right people, because
that as a strength.
Yeah. And those people are passionate about it, right? I mean, they're really good in their job, which I can't be. I won't even come close to them, right? In managing certain managerial level, logical decision making, the finance metrics, far removed, right? So I think in a nutshell, those kind of things really help in running businesses. Be it different various verticals, it doesn't really matter as long as you have a understanding of people management. Yeah. And
a very curious question. What kind of sport did you used to play when you were in school or college?
So I was actually quite athletic. I used to do a lot of running. I was part of 100, 200 meter relays and all that. Sport wise, it's volleyball. So I was part of the volleyball team in school, and then in terms of even in college, I was part of the volleyball team, but at college level and all, it was on a very different level altogether. So you're almost always substituted and sitting on the sidelines, right? Because I mean, at Delhi and Stephens, you get sports quota guys, right? You get what I'm trying to say, right? So obviously, we coming from an academic background and having got admission, we had no chance to stand up to the sports quota guys, right? But yeah, I enjoy playing. I mean, I don't get a chance to play volleyball that much now. But yeah, I do, that's an important thing of being physically active also. So I try to go to the gym once in a while. I mean, often enough to the gym. That's one of the mainstays of being physically fit. Picked up cycling, so kind of enjoying that. Though it's been a bit of a lull recently, but I need to get that back. Trying to pick up paddle now. So yeah. But a few things. I think being physically active and trying to get to staying fit is also another important part in this.
And across all your ventures, you manage people really well. What kind of people make it to your ventures? What kind of people do you hire?
Good question. So, like I said, it depends upon the domain of responsibility, right? So, I can't, the answer is it really depends upon what, is it a group manager level opening? Yes, there are certain specific people for that. Is it a finance kind of a person?
But fundamentally, some human traits that you would want as non-negotiables?
I would love to say, integrity and, things like that, right? But how would you know, right?
Correct.
I mean, how would you know?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're interviewing somebody, to be very blunt about it, you wouldn't, right?
You wouldn't.
So what you rely on is certain, obviously, any prudent employee would cross-check references and, things like that. That's about what you can do. I'm saying that's a minimum understood things like integrity and honesty and all that, right? Beyond that, I think every individual has his or her capabilities, right? It's just that what role would that fit in? That's all the question is. So when you say, is there some common traits that I look for people? Not really. It really depends upon because some of them are very bad at people management, right? Or dealing with people even. I still have.
Okay.
At very senior positions. My thing is like every day firefighting, trying to manage some people issue, right? Because that person may be not very good at with people at all. But that person is probably brilliant at some other faculty that I've given him. And that's the reason why he is there. But I'm just saying, does that make him a bad person? No, absolutely not, right? Because he is doing what he's supposed to do.
Correct.
His weakness is people interactions or people management, because maybe he is too logical in his thing. He's got his own reasoning, right? So I think it all depends upon the responsibility, the designation. I don't think, things like honesty, things like integrity, I feel very attached to those kind of things, but I think that's understood, that's basic, right? And we should all do cross references to know such people come in, but beyond that, no. I mean, I think for me, I appreciate all people. I think that's where I don't have traits where I'd say, okay, I would rather have this kind of people. Any kind of people is fine.
Although, like we discussed earlier, across all your multiple ventures, and you also told me that you're an introvert, and introverts, as I understand, they want to spend limited energy on certain things throughout the day, and then they pause to recharge before they can recollect and bounce back.
Yep.
So what's your routine like? What is your day like?
Good question. Yeah, so basically, I need a lot of me time, but that would be later in the day, because the nature of business is such that you go into office and you're interacting with people, phone calls, employees. But even in office, you have your time to do your own research, or doing things that you like, which again, as that introvert, you're recharging even then, right? But otherwise, you go back home. I mean, I love music. So yeah, I mean, even the whole familiarity of home and the family, and I mean, kids are in boarding school, but otherwise when they're around, all that is a huge recharge, right? I love traveling, so I think that's
What are some of the best travel memories you have?
We actually travel a lot, so I think we are very wildlife people. So I think from a very young age, when the kids were really young, we kind of keep going to wildlife parks and things like that. We just recently went to Bandhavgarh, yeah, for the tiger park and things like that. So I think wildlife is something that fascinates me, and I think these are influences which I inculcated from good dear friends also, right? And this is the good thing about friendships, that they also pass on amazing traits of theirs, and you kind of pick up from that. But I think some of the best memories are wildlife memories. We have gone to Kenya, seen some great wildlife there. Yeah, so I think a lot of travel here and there.
Like you told me, there are resets that you consciously take, right? When you're assessing students, do you sometimes carry the weight of those assessments home? Have you done that in the past?
Yeah, not really, because see, it's not when you talk about these assessments, it's not
you have to see it for what
no,
it
it's
is.
not psychologically asking too many difficult questions, I mean, just to carry that weight you're talking about, right? To answer that, it's not something so deep inside that, they're sharing the deepest, darkest secrets with you or something like that. It's not at all like that, right? I mean, it's just certain assessments where questions are asked to understand certain personality traits of yours. And in fact, even the interaction with them is on a fun level, right? You ask certain questions. I mean, I do counseling also as a counselor with kids. So, I mean, I completely enjoy that because, it just brings up the different uniqueness of people, different personality types. Yeah, different personalities respond very differently. You all these subtleties and nuances, the carrying the weight part, sometimes I carry the weight of the parent aspiration, yes, because,
they have a certain assumption that they wrestle with, and that's not what translates on paper, maybe.
Yeah, so sometimes it's funny, right? Like I'm a parent myself, and we want the best for our kids. And when like I said, I've done so many counselings, and the parents come and I know they want the best for their child. But then what is best for the child in their minds might
Something
not
else.
be what is really best for the child sitting in front of me, whom I've scientifically got to know. And thereby that weight that I am talking about, I know both needs to be balanced. And there's no compromise for the kids, right? I mean, absolutely. For me, the uniqueness of the kid is to be honored. Starts and stops there. So the parent is very secondary. But to manage that, their expectation, their aspiration for the kid, which is coming from a very good place, and trying to tell them, no, this is not like it. This is what your kid would thrive in. And yes, I understand your point of view, but this is where the happiness comes from. So let me just get a little deeper into it. So what happens is, this whole concept of, it's all finding meaningful work, right? See, what is meaningful? That word meaningful, right? It's about, you have to do work which honors who you are.
Gives you a sense of purpose.
Sense of purpose, right? And thereby you need to kind of understand yourself. And when we look at our metrics of trying to find that meaningful work for a child, it involves three things. One is, obviously it has to match their interest. Why matching an interest important? Because unless you're interested in something, you won't be motivated, right? So you would want to get into a career where there is motivation. It's as simple as that. So that interest part relates to motivation. Of course, the next part is what parents always misunderstand, which is their skills. Aptitude, we call it, right? People have different skills, and if they have certain skills, which, let's say a job needs certain skills, right? Every job requires certain different skills, right? If that student already has that skill, they would be able to do that job better. That's all there is, right? If an accountant job, the kid has arithmetic skills, they can do it better than somebody who doesn't have. So it relates to capability. Now, why I'm saying all this is, the parents normally see these two aspects, the interest and the skills. And hey, my daughter has excellent math skills, so yeah, why not engineering? Or why not this? Why not IT?
Try to decide for them.
Yeah, because they are only seeing these two things. Now I'm bringing the third thing into the equation, which is personality. See, parents understand their kids, but they haven't understood their kids scientifically. And personality is so important, Sri Hari, because this is the silent one, right? None of us, it goes under the radar. See, we can change behaviors. When I get into a job which is not who I'm supposed to be doing, I can change my behavior for a short time. But day in and day out, if I have to do that job and trying to be somebody else, which doesn't fit my personality traits, sure burnout, sure dissatisfaction.
Correct.
That word is satisfaction. If you get into a job where you can be yourself, you'll be very internally satisfied. This is a part most parents miss out, because that's very invisible. Because nobody, if I ask a parent, what is your child's personality like, they'll say, okay, this or that, but they can't, scientifically, they can't talk about it, right? And what that means or imply for a career. So they normally, parents misunderstand, thinking a career should all be based on just skills and just interest. And sometimes their personality comes into play and kind of disrupts what the parent expectation is, and I have to tell them, oh no, see, you would want your child to get into a career where they find meaning, they find satisfaction, because it honors their personality. They can be just who they are. Imagine how easy it is, right? Imagine a career where you just can be yourself. Don't need that, struggle to be somebody else in the job. It's so easy, right? Well, that is a conversation I have with a lot of parents sometimes, and that burden I sometimes carry, because that's not easy, because they come from a good place also, I know that. And it's not always easy.
I think, listening to your earlier influences also, part of that also connects to this, is what I'm feeling, because you also set out exploring different paths to understand where you fit in best.
Yeah, correct.
And eventually you found your calling.
Right.
And you knew how to bridge it and connect it with a venture. And is that how it is?
I would say that the fact that I was a little lost, right, trying to find a career, obviously I when I reflect back, all that's been great life
figuring
lessons,
out is the best adventure, I would say.
No,
right?
absolutely, right? I mean, you always have to have that failure, right? Or, not trying to get it right the first time around. And that struggle always teaches you certain things in life.
To also fail with grace.
Yeah, absolutely. And also that thing of, having tried out different things and how that doesn't really fit in, and that internal dissatisfaction that happens with that. All these are very important things. I would never negate that. So you could be successful making money, but is that all? No. Are you satisfied as a person? Does that really give you internal satisfaction? If not, won't you carry it into your personal life as well?
Right.
So it's a bigger picture being played out. You could make money, but that doesn't solve problems unless you're really happy. So that's where we're trying to find that answer of trying to match that something which will give you internal happiness.
That's, I think, I would have asked you that last question, but then I have some clarity between your conversations. So first is to discover who I am as a person, and then on that process to discover, you go through a journey, you go through an adventure, and you find places you fit, the places you do not fit, and eventually take to your calling. Right?
Yeah, I would say that I would just rewind that a little bit, find who you are. You don't need to go through that journey like some people, like I did, because if you know who you are and you kind of find out what kind of careers are suited for you, well, you can start the journey earlier.
Okay.
Not to say that's short success.
Yeah.
Life is such that nothing is guaranteed.
A better starting point, maybe.
Or your chances of, I would put it this way, your chances of success is better.
Much better.
Much better.
Right.
And well, then the next question is, what is success, right? So I'm just saying, maybe I'm not talking about success in terms of a monetary success here. I am talking about success in terms of, has this child found meaningful work? That's a very personal thing. And that's what I call success. That one can start early, right? Because there are certain careers where you're fit for, where, well, you never know about the monetary thing. Because sometimes like artists and things like that. Not to say that they don't make money, but it is a certain struggle, a certain initial years. It's not like, a paycheck comes every month. So all that has to be put in the context, right? But do they love what they're doing? Yes, and that's important, right?
So it's also very correlative at the end, because we spoke about children and how you influence them, and most of us have that inner child alive within us, and these are questions we need to ask ourselves every single day. That's what I feel.
Yeah, you need to, because I think as parents, I think our responsibility is to find that uniqueness, or how a child is different. Because see, why I'm saying this also has a different bearing. Going forward, what are careers, how it's going to kind of evolve with the advent of AI and things like that, right? We never know actually. It's a very fluid thing that's happening in the job market, right? So that's another reason why this is also important. I mean, I'm coming back to even founders and things like that, and even talking about what business you start, right? I'm just saying all this comes back into, because we're going through the world of disruptions here. Now, we don't know, okay, we might start on a career journey, but I think gone are the days where something is guaranteed that the same career trajectory will take you all the way through life. You have to keep reskilling, upskilling, discarding certain skills altogether, learn new stuff altogether. So I think in that journey, be it a student, be it a founder, be it something that you're starting, you need to be ready for those disruptions in life, especially with where things are headed, right? Because something that you started might become very relevant somewhere down the line, because some kind of technological thing came and hit it, right? So the only way you can survive, whether it's a student or starter or whatever, I mean founder or anything, is to at least get to know yourself and get into things where you would have that resilience. What I'm trying to say is you need to keep changing, adapt to certain trajectory, or even career wise. So understand which are the ones that would bring you a certain level of resilience, where you would fit in better, where that fit is very important, where you fit in better, because your chances of success is probably
so much more.
More when you do that. Because like I said, gone are the days where I think one career and it'll take you all the way through life, right? I don't think that exists anymore. I mean, we can always debate about few careers, but always going to be disruptions now.
Right. Thanks, Eldho, for summing it up so beautifully.
Yeah.
And before we leave you, there's a practice that we have on the show. There's a journal right here, and we ask the people who come on our show to write a note.
Yeah.
That note is not for the viewers or for me, it's for your younger self. What would you tell a young Eldho today?
Right.
So,
I've got to write then.
Thank you so much, Eldho.
Thank you so much, yeah. Thank you so much.
Seated
Yeah.